Peace and blessings. It's Aura here to share a little bit about what to do after you do the initial stages of mirror work. So mirror work is a lot about looking at a situation from your own perspective or another person's perspective, really just tuning in why the trigger happened, if it was something that you did, or where it's coming from, right? Like where the trigger, the tender part of the situation is coming from. And when you do the mirror work, you can see that there's these different mirrors that reflect back to us. And not all the mirrors are the same. I'm not going to go into the details of mirror work at the moment. I want to talk about what happens after you do the mirror work. So you've done the mirror work, now what? You have to really tune into your body and see what is being called. If there's still a ringing truth in your body and your tissues and your muscles and your heart and your voice and your mind to share or open the space for a conversation or a question with another person, then I say that's a part of the mirror work. It's not about seeing, okay, I see this was coming from me. I'm just gonna hold this in even though, I'm continuing to be triggered by it. There's a way to communicate with people that is not condemning or blaming, but just opening up the space for a sacred conversation to happen. And so I really, really want to encourage more people to do that. I had a few situations where things came up that were presented to me, and honestly, oftentimes I don't speak on things right away. I don't. The trigger can happen or the awareness can happen for me, and I usually sit on it. I usually sit on it and see like where is it coming from, and if I can do the clearing within myself before I need to present it in a conversation, in a voice activation with another individual. So yeah, I usually don't speak on things right away. That's part of the work that I know I can grow in, is speaking to things directly as they're happening real time. It's kind of like when you're at a restaurant and you really want like something else and the waiter's right there, but you don't want to bother them because you see they have all of these other tables. But if you just let them know right then in the moment, I need more ketchup, they're going to just get it and bring it to you, like that kind of thing. I want to be able to speak things head on more often and just speak my truth. However, in certain situations, it is beneficial for me to take the time to reflect instead of like go directly into conversation with the person. So yeah, I say all that to say usually I don't address things right away, and I'll take some time, and then if it happens again, if I'm triggered in the same way or the situation happens again and I still feel that same way, I know it's something I need to address. I know it's something I need to speak my truth on. And it's important to know that my truth is not going to be the same truth as you or anybody else. That's the beauty of holding like a sacred, compassionate conversation. It's knowing that you can show up sovereign in your own truth and hold space to hear somebody else's own sovereign truth. Maybe you can find somewhere to meet in the middle. Maybe you can just be able to hear each other out, or maybe that conversation can be cleared, or maybe there is, responsibility that needs to be taken on somebody's part. The ability to respond is like such a huge medicine that I think more people need to activate in their systems. Judgment, but all right, I own it. Responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions, for your voice, for your behavior, for the things you do and do not do. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of empathy and a lot of like deep inner work to be able to take responsibility. And when I say responsibility, it's the ability to respond in a situation that is not defensive or blaming or projecting or deflecting. So and we could all work. I'm not perfect at this. I have just received the activation in my own field, and so Spirit guided me to be able to just hold a conversation around this. And it is, after you do the mirror work, it's still that same, there's still something there for you, whether it's subtle or whether it's grand. I say speak on it in a compassionate manner. Ask if that person or people have the capacity to have a conversation. I had to have one of the hardest conversations ever last year, and it was not easy, and I doubted if I could go through with it. It was with two people, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, but I had to have a really, really uncomfortable conversation around speaking my truth because a boundary was severely crossed in multiple ways, on multiple layers, and I needed to talk about it. I couldn't hold it in. Sure, I could do the mirror work and be like, where is this coming from? Okay, I can see where this is coming from, either from this life or or my past lives, but still, it was a big boundary crosser, and I need to tell the other person that they crossed a boundary. And can they take responsibility for it? Can they show up and be like, you're right, that was not right? And luckily, that conversation that did happen, we were able to come to like a consensus and be able to talk about it in a very calm manner. Especially, it gets a little tricky when there's more than two people sometimes, but I'm really grateful that I had the courage and the support to be able to have the conversation, because otherwise I would have been holding it in. And then every time I was around that person or those people, I would have felt super awkward and like not sure of my own space or my own boundaries. And so I just want to encourage those who are tuning in to take that step or that leap of faith to have a conversation after you do the mirror work. If there's more clearing and cleansing that needs to be done on the situation or the experience that was shared, there's nothing wrong with activating your truth in a sacred way and just sharing your truth authentically. Whether people receive it or not is not up to us, but as long as we're sharing our truth and you're really like, this is your intuition, this is your body, this isn't just like the ego, it's really tuning in and knowing. So there's some subtlety there, but I trust that when you need to speak up. And so I just encourage you to do it. Have those hard conversations with people if you need to have them. Ask for support, ask for guidance. I often have crystals with me when I have to have those conversations with people, just to sort of help ground my energy and anchor me in and make sure I am speaking from my heart. So use your tools, use your guides. All I ask is that you speak out and speak up, especially if something is unsettling or you just intuitively, claircognizantly know it is unjust or unjust. Speak to it. All right? I love you. Keep on shining.